We're publicly listed on the CSE under the ticker LVT and on the OTC under the ticker LVTTF. Before I get started, I just want to thank you, Neil, for organizing this event, and Bruce, as well as all the other attendees for coming online to listen to our business. I'd like to set the stage initially on the presentation by highlighting how Levitee Labs differentiates itself from the rest of our peers in the psychedelic industry. In order to do that, I'm briefly going to map out what the current psychedelic industry looks like. So companies who have emerged in the psychedelic industry are generally one of two different ways. Number one is pharmacological development. And number two is companies who are establishing new clinics, ketamine clinics, psychedelic wellness centers, etc. On the pharmacological development side, you have companies that have emerged such as Atai, Compass, MindMed, which are doing the holy work of creating novel psychedelic compounds to treat people with mental health issues, addiction, PTSD, depression, anxiety. However, and even though we bet that some of these players are going to be successful in due time, this is an extremely capital-intensive game. There's a long roadmap for these companies to reach revenue and profitability, as well as even when reaching the third phase of clinical trials, it's extremely binary even at that stage to get FDA approvals. It costs hundreds of millions of dollars to go through this process. However, we do bet that there is going to be successful players, and that will be complementary to our business model. On the other side, you have companies such as Field Trip, amongst others, that are building brand new ketamine clinics, psychedelic wellness centers, retreats, etc. However, they're charging patients out of pocket, and this is not covered by insurance, $700 per session usually, and patients need to go to 5 sessions or so on the minimum to treat their prospective issues. The issue with this is that for building new clinics, there's high capex. This translates into at best low EBITDA margins, and it also, the biggest problem with it in my mind is that you're removing the largest demographic of people who we believe need these medicines most, which are people who are underserved and are marginalized. Now that we've set the stage, we can go to how we differentiate ourselves. So with Levitee Labs, we are a company that's completely transforming the traditional infrastructure of addiction care through 3 main pillars. Number one is we're rolling up already existing revenue-producing, cash-flowing addiction care assets, as well as other wellness assets. These include addiction clinics. They include specialized pharmacies and compounding pharmacies. And this has been really the reason for our tremendous growth over the past few months, to inching closer to about $1 million in revenue per month. The next thing that we're doing in these 3 pillars is that we're using technology to decrease inefficiencies, as well as to maximize interoperability and scalability of these siloed and separated assets. You have to remember that the addiction service industry is extremely fragmented, and so we're rolling them up, we're bringing them together, and we're integrating it with technology such as telemedicine, as well as end-to-end practice management tools to increase efficiencies and take away this fragmentation. We just recently announced our partnership with Well Health Technologies to use their technology in all of our network of clinics and pharmacies. And lastly, we're integrating evidence-based psychedelic medicine into our network of clinics and pharmacies. So I have here some statistics. 1 in 5 Canadians right now is suffering from addiction. Every 11 minutes, there is somebody that's dying because of overdose from illicit drugs, and $80 billion a year right now is being spent on the opioid crisis in the US alone. So right now, how the industry looks is if you're somebody suffering from the perils of opioid addiction, you're going into an addiction clinic. In this addiction clinic, you are being given a prescription. If it's opioid addiction, usually for methadone or Suboxone, then you're going to a specialized pharmacy. You get monitored. They give you your methadone, you take it and you leave. The issue with this is that you need more than just methadone. A lot of people who are suffering from addiction they have other comorbidities. They have heart issues, they have hormonal issues, they have all these other issues that are not addressed by just managing their symptoms through something like methadone. So what we're doing is we're adding these other multidisciplinary fields, such as cardiology for heart issues, endocrinology for hormonal issues, as well as psychiatry for other mental health issues, into our platforms. And what this does is it really improves patient outcomes for these people. All of these services are at no extra cost to the patients themselves. Everything is billed directly to the government. Right now, addiction is becoming even more serious with the pandemic. Opioid-related deaths have increased by 74% over the last 6 months alone, and it's only becoming a bigger issue. This is a slide I'm going to spend most of my time on. So I'm proud to announce that Levitee, we are already the largest addiction provider in the province of Alberta, and we're expanding to other provinces as well. We just announced an LOI to expand into BC, and we're looking at Toronto as well. Already in Alberta, we have over 35,000 patients that we service per year. And our goal is to reach a run rate of $100 million in revenue by the end of next year. All of the assets that we're acquiring are revenue producing and cash flow positive. We are acquiring these assets at 3.5 times to 5 times cash flow. And we structure them through a combination of cash, stock, earnouts, and vendor takebacks. We have a very deep pipeline of acquisitions currently, over $500 million in revenue and $100 million in EBITDA. And we plan to aggressively roll up the entire Canadian addiction services market, as well as we are looking at penetrating into the US market as well. I'll move on to this. Highlights what I was speaking about earlier with regards to adding additional services and in the integration of technology within these services. This is our partnership with Well Health that I highlighted. This is our team. I'm Pouya Farmand. Kelly Abbott is our COO. He's a serial entrepreneur. Leading the clinical side is Fadi Hana Shmouni. He's a NIA clinical researcher, and he was a director of the NIH. He's a Yale graduate on endocrinology. On the CPG side and wellness side, we have Azim Ghazi heading our e-commerce and CPG operations. And on the M&A side, the co-founder and my partner, Ken Osborne, is leading that side. He's an M&A machine. So currently, this is a day old. We're trading at about $28 million market cap. We have 83 million, approximately 84 million shares outstanding, basic, fully diluted, just under 100 million shares outstanding. Most of these shares are locked up on the insider ownership side. And with regards to other companies in our field right now, we believe that there's major upside to us. There is no one in our peer group that has revenues even close to us. We are already approaching $10 million run rate, and this is not including any of the acquisitions that we have in our pipeline that we will be executing on in the near term. The median EV in our industry right now is $67 million, and most of these companies are pre-revenue, and they don't have anything established with regards to the network that we have put together. What we have put together is not a promise anymore. We've already done it. We're the largest player in Alberta with regards to addiction services. We are seeking to help our patients with the hope of psychedelic medicine by integrating it into it. But first, we need to build the infrastructure, which is something that the industry has not focused on. That is the end of the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, if any.